My name is Timothy, and this is TA Garage. This video is going to be a little bit different. I had acquired this truck. It is a 1977 Dodge W400. It is a factory 400 big block with a 4-speed and 4-wheel drive. The truck shows originally, and I do believe it is an original 300-mile truck, right under 300. The reason for that, this truck was basically bought brand new and it was turned into a fire truck. And then it was donated, I believe, to the local racetrack. And they used it to water the track and to a little fire truck around track. So it basically did a little bit of driving around the racetrack, every weekend, a couple times. And that was about it. Everything I've been through this truck has showed that. I did want to repair some of the little stuff and fix it. So I pulled the motor and the transmission and transfer case. The motor looked really terrible. So I wanted to paint it up, look nice. I left the cylinder heads on and did the valve guides, the oils. Ended up doing the rear main, pulling the crank out the hard way from the bottom with the pistons and rods still in it, and replacing the seal, because that had the old rope seal. Transmission, the front bearing had the bearing had spun. It was locking up, mainly because no oil and it was messed up. Went through the entire transfer case, it was fine. I did convert with a mile marker kit, because it has a differential in the transfer case to drive the front or rear at the same. I have it to where it's locked out until I want it in 4-wheel drive. It will pull the front too when I want it to, and then it would pull the back. I ended up sanding this truck down because it was a purplish pink color from the old color when they painted it red. And I painted it the first time, and I did not like the color when I was done. The second time, I ended up just mixing up some Rust-Oleum to get the color that I wanted. And pretty well close to the factory color, because that's what it was. They called it a red, but it was like an orangish red. I also put the decals and stuff on it from like a snow fighter truck. And went through the interior and kind of rubber coated the floor to preserve what was there. Kind of did like a factory restoration type thing on it. I did put the wood grain dash stuff out of it I had from another truck. I did some pinstriping. Some of it's like the pinstriping tape, and some of it I painted the stripes on like the hood. That was a custom thing that I did. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's a work truck. I went through this wiring completely. It had the amount of wiring of like 4 complete wiring harnesses in one truck, and it was all ate up. So I ended up going through it and doing some upgrades of relays and stuff for the heavier stuff that I wanted to do with it. The seat, went ahead and just put a seat cover over the original seat with a little bit of foam. We did glue like a covering over the bottom to help it. Went and checked all the gauges and everything. The second time I rebuilt the engine, I had to, because I went to crank it up after I had all got it put together with the seals. I could not get it to idle enough to build oil pressure, and it was perfectly that the oil pressure gauge was stuck at 40. And I thought it had oil pressure and it did not. And I ended up locking it up with the starter, so it saved it with that. Ended up tearing it down and completely doing it again, and I have the pistons up to 5 on the deck. I put 20 thousandths pistons on it. The block was in factory specs, part of that believing it was a low mileage truck. But it was time to put the bed on, and I ended up putting the wrecker bed off of the Ford truck because it fits this truck better since it has a 6-inch longer wheelbase than a regular long base truck. And it fit it perfectly. Width-wise, fits it. The frame connections, I had to widen it up, but I ended up using 2x4, I think, tubing. Welded it with the C-channel of the bed. and it matched up with the frame width, so basically copying it and reinforcing the crap out of the bed and the frame. I also plated the inside of the frame from transmission mount to the upper and changed one of the cross members so that way it would accept a secondary tank instead of just a cab. Painted the bed to match and also added the side toolboxes. I built that from scratch. And a little upward hoop, back hoop, cab hoop, whatever you want to call it, and did some custom back striping on the back. And I wanted to put the wrecker on it. It fit in perfectly, and the wrecker truck was wore out. The motor's having issues. But I think it was well worth it. So here we go with the starting of the bed. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how to mix some of my paint. I'm going to hit the wrecker crown or arch, I guess you can call it. I'm going to hit that with some primer. This stuff basically kind of mixes like paint. It's a Rust-Oleum Reform and Seal, kind of a undercoating. It thins out just like the paint does. That way it's kind of a matte black primer type thing. You can also paint over it. I'm going to use that. Hit it out of a spray gun. And then I will probably hit it very shortly after before it gets a little tacky with some regular gloss black. If I can find our paint filter, use that one. I only got one left. If that's any good. So, the way I usually mix this, I use acetone for mixing. It seems to be, well, at least what I feel more comfortable. Paint thinner doesn't take as much. I use it mainly for cleaning. But I like to mix it 50-50. And I'm only going to make I'll go ahead and make 10 ounces. And lay it on there a little bit more thicker. Mix this stuff up real quick. So if I'm making 10 ounces, I'm going to make it half of that, which would be the 50-50. It is quite a bit more acetone, but it just seems to work pretty good. That's how I did the paint on the truck. And all the other smaller stuff that I've done. Not really looking for a real fine finish, just looking more of something. So, I'll make 10. So I need to go up to 5. Which is about right in there. Close enough. This stuff can be tricky to pour. A bunch of it goes on the floor. Alright, just a hair bit above, but I was a little bit of hair above anyways. So I don't have exact 5, so that's about where it needs to be. So to mix this up, would advise when mixing up any of this, wear a respirator. It's probably just better. It thins it out pretty good. Let it sit for a little bit. But the shop pretty well ventilated at the moment. Takes a little bit of time for everything to activate and actually mix up evenly, because if not, you'll get a thick and then a real thin. You can use paint thinner, but you use a lot less, but I just like the way the acetone dries and everything. it lays on pretty good. Like I say, it has a bunch of crud in it from that can sitting, so there's some chunks in it. That's why it's kind of flowing a little bit slower at the end, because the filter's actually clogging up. But I want to use this can before it goes bad. Alright. I got my air compressor, and this is all about set, and I'll finish setting it up. I'm basically just going to kind of treat it like a spray can. Alright, so this stuff is not perfectly prepped and everything, but it'd be fine enough. It's just something besides the rust, and this is going to help with it. It should stick fine. It's going to get scratched anyways on this, so I'm not too worried about it. So there's probably some cleaners out there going, that's not exactly the right way to do it. Again, kind of treating it like a rattle can, just trying to make it black. That's how it's covered. Alright, so I'm just mixing up another batch real quick, trying to get it before everything dries. We're basically doing the same thing. I'm actually gonna mix a little bit more. I didn't realize it was gonna go through that much, but I'm gonna hit it with another coat basically. Yeah, you're supposed to let it tack up. That stuff don't take long to tack at all. Like honestly, a couple minutes, it'll tack. Now when I'm doing the painting and everything, you can do it on a cool, non-windy day, kind of in the morning right after the dew's done. You can get the paint to lay pretty good. It will dry quick in the sun, I mean quick. So hopefully I got enough filters to get me by. If not, I'm gonna have to think of something. I could have sworn I had some somewhere. Alright, so I found some more filters. They're pretty crappy, but better than nothing. I'm sure they gotten wet and stuff. Oh well. It'll work. Again, would recommend wearing a respirator. So do it as I say and not what I do. I am going to put it on now though. Yeah, I'm just going to hit it again. Basically, I'm just doing rattle can. And I know you guys can't probably hear me with this thing. She'll subtitle it, if you can understand what I said. If not, there might be some question marks. And I will try to fix it. I hit this with 40 grit, so it's roughed up and sanded down, but I only hit it once. But it's got pits and everything. Alright, so that's probably good enough coat. I do need to tuck in it. Let's mix more. Alright, I'm going to mix the rest of the can. Should have done that in the first time. Yeah, I'm just going to mix what all I got left of it. Which apparently is not very much more. And I'm not going to open up a new can, so kind of be what it's going to be. I am going to let that sit upside down for a little bit. What is that? Alright, I guess we're going to the 6. Sure. Not very precise with this stuff. I do try to keep it consistent when I'm actually doing paint and stuff that actually kind of wanting to look very nice. This is going to look nice enough that it's got so many heavy pits and all that stuff. I'm not worried about it. It's going to get scratched. 50 feet away, it's going to look black. and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna look good. It's gonna get some orange pinstriping, I think. I gotta learn not to do that. But this is just kind of a rust reformer type stuff. Heavier coating, and then the black paint's just gonna be kind of a there. That way if the paint gets scratched easy or chips a little bit, you might have this underneath or rust, which will look natural. So alright, this will be the last time primer for sure. This is mainly going to be on the inside, and I got to flip that plate around and hit the top with this at least. Alright, there we go. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and clamp the gun, get the cut clean, and go ahead and mix up some paint. This is already tacking. I grabbed that one piece and flipped it over, and it was pretty well ready to go. So by the time I get this all cleaned out, I'm sure the paint would mix fine. You can hear me all the compressor. But I'm just going to run paint thinner through it. That'll clean it out. Pretty good. And I'll do a final cleaning. Alright. I will say this rust conversion coating stuff, it will dry very, very, very quickly whenever you thin it out and everything. And it lays pretty thin when you spray it. But when you brush it, it kind of thickens up and it's more of a rubberized. It will actually turn more into a rubber coating. It's the same stuff I used on that Challenger on the inside. It's pretty good. Brushing it if I want thick and kind of seal stuff up. And if I want to kind of a heavy rusted item, I usually will spray it. It is like $20 a quart, $20 a quart. It's pretty good. I mean, it's not bad. Good for floors and stuff. Like a base or primer, basically. Alright, well, I'm going to get this paint mixed up and I'll show you guys how I mix that up. So this time with the paint, I'm going to mix a full batch or full can, spray gun, however you want to put it. I'm going to mix it up, and I think this is a 20, so do a 10 and 10. This should dry a little bit slower. Rust-Oleum usually takes quite a bit of time to dry. I think that Rust-Oleum on that truck, with it sitting inside the shop, it took literally a month or a month and a half to fully cure. I think this gun's 20, so I'm going to do a 10 and 10. About there. This is just the black Rust-Oleum industrial. I don't know. It's nothing fancy. It's just gloss, I think, or semi-gloss, or I think it's gloss. Just an industrial black paint. It's just cheap, and I can easily get it relatively available. We do have a paint shop and stuff, and I do go there. I've gotten some paint, but they're never open when I need them to be, so it kind of doesn't help me none. So I just usually get this, and then I usually mix the colors and make any color I really can if I can. Close enough. Plus, I ain't too worried about it if I need to paint it, and I can always just sand it down. As long as I get the body work on some things, right? That'd be fun. I'm setting up a filter there. I think this is 20. I could be wrong. If not, oh well. I just went ahead and used up the rest of that can too. This, got plenty left. I'll get me by a little bit more. I'll show y'all more of some custom paints and stuff that I've done. Probably end up doing Dad's Roadrunner that way. Make it into the Plum Crazy Purple instead of buying the paint. We live with chickens and turkeys and all that, and they get on it. They're gonna poop and scratch, and dogs, and you know, they're gonna scratch. Rather cry over a what? Maybe $100 paint job instead of a gallon of paint that's almost like $1,000 to get the factory paint. That'd be good enough for us. Always just sand it and reheat it again. Like, figure out how to clear coat this stuff. I know it's kind of finicky on clear coating. Did a little bit of experimenting with it, and it's nothing out of a gun, but it's weird. It's kind of, I don't know. It likes it some ways and not others. I have to do some more experimenting with it. I haven't gotten real crazy in it either. It's important to let the stuff sit for just a little bit while you're mixing and everything. That's what takes the most time, is it actually just needs time to do it the same. Again, I would recommend respirator. Apparently I'm going to have to get 2. I didn't even think about that. I don't remember what style I gotta have for this. What did I do with my respirator?
It's on top of the car.
Oh. Alright, so maybe you can hear me over the guineas. They're throwing a fit. They're going to bed, so they're not happy. I'm not going to paint the bottom piece with the black, so I'm just only going to do the top. And basically hit it kind of decently. I'm probably going to do the inside first and then hit the outside. And then slowly just keep putting it on there instead of letting it dry for a little bit. Because I need to go to bed because I got to go work tomorrow. That's it. That's all it's gonna get. Basically, if you really want to do a paint job, one, you need good light. If you can do it out in the sun, that's the best light you're gonna get. It really is. The biggest problem outside is you're gonna have bugs and wind and all that. But don't want to get bugs bad in here because it's night and light and the smell and all that's going to get to them. It'll even out and lay down flatter. So, I'm going to let it do its thing tonight. I'm going to clean up and go to bed. Alright, so I'm back on working on this new tow truck. Gonna put that plate on. That gear section sticks down here by the dry shaft, and that plate will go down, and then the same bolts will get sandwiched in that with those. And right now I got some paint kind of drying. There's water in there, but got some paint drying on a couple of these little spots because it was from where I chipped it and stuff before. And yeah, gonna let that dry for a little bit and start putting these pieces on. So I got 4 bolts for these. The front is a 7/8 bolts. And then the back is a 3/4. And that runs through to the little side pieces on the frame. That's sandwiched in between the boxes, so that'd be fun to get underneath. And then I'll kind of center it up, but it should just kind of go in the way I got the holes drilled. So, I mean, where it goes is where it's going to be. So I'm going to get those put in once I can figure out what I do with those locking nuts that I have. I'll probably put Loctite on them too, just to help it from vibration and stuff. So yeah, get started on that once I find a little book. Bring you guys down here. So basically I'm doing that, if you guys can see the 2 bolts. Take this bar and pop that back up. Do the same thing over here. Put that in there. Get swung over. I was able to get the washer to sneak up underneath there, so that'd be good. They're kind of tight. I think they'll work. Put this one in advance over here. Do that. Poke these up over here. Should be able to put these washers on underneath. This one's got water. It's leaking from it anyways. Yeah, I think it's leaking from the spots it's meant to. Now the question is, do I do the PTO stuff now, or do I go ahead and put this back brace on? I'm thinking the back brace on. I like to hit some of these bolts with paint, but dadgummit, the ends are stopped up. Alright, so I got the truck pulled out. Next thing I'm going to do is get this thing sanded prepped and everything, but first I got to cut the center out. Here, I'll cut it flush here. Welding 2 plates on the bottom of these for bolts. That cuts this out for the gooseneck hitch. Where it goes is going to be right where that lands, and it's going to be in the way. Which, really, this ain't doing a whole lot of strength-wise, but I'll have more strength down here than what this is. So, it should be pretty good. Also going to drill me a hole, may drill 2 or 4 total, but on the ends of these, just to really bolt those down. Just kind of make it a little bit more rigid. Go ahead and try to paint it today and start working on the other pieces, that the boom part, get it set up. So yeah, we can get started on that. Alright, I got this piece cut out. I made it a little bit weak on this, but it'll be fine. I got a couple of these plates where my foot is. I'm gonna have my dad help me, and I already drilled these holes out to 5/8. I'm gonna upgrade them. Those are the 4 that were in it, so I drilled them out and kind of get it put up. Disconnect my battery. I'm gonna back the truck up so that way I can weld it first. But I want to get those plates on and kind of in the right position, get them tacked. So that way I can bolt it and everything. And I might go ahead and drill the holes for the rest of it then. I'm not sure about that part yet. Yeah, I got problems with chickens in the shop. They eat all the dead bugs. Dung beetles. I guess that's what you call them. There's a bunch of them that die in here. Alright, so I'm going to pull the truck back to where I can get to it and weld it. And get those pieces in. Alright, so I got the bottom bolts bolted. I'm not going to do the top. I may only keep those 4. Because really all it's going to have is the movement toward me. I do know that the back piece is leaned forward a little bit more, so I do have a gap up there. So I got to figure out what to do about that. I might just stack some washers. I don't know. But we got these plates here. Oh, we got these plates here. A little bit more. And these are going to mount. I kind of messed this one up. Might be able to figure it better over here. But basically just like that. Actually, I could probably leave one with the weld on it. Use that as kind of a template. Grind that little spot off. And basically drill me a hole here. That way it's in the center of the plate. It goes through this, it goes through the bed. I can't remember if there's a bar right here or not. Need to find that out, because I got a couple of pieces that go this way on the bottom of the bed. Has a hole here, but I'm not going to use them. Yeah, like that, weld it up all the way back up to here, and I get the other one to do the same. I'll get them tacked in now, or I may just fully weld them and drill a hole and put them in. Alright, so if you guys can see that little gap there, it's a good inch or two, between an inch or two. Well, I brought out this little thing there, which since the truck ain't sitting level, I know I can't really use level. But from this angle here, that is, barely see it, 5 degrees, because the truck is on a slope. It's 5 degrees past 90, or 5 degrees past 0 that way. Well, I want to make sure that this wrecker boom here, this is set up 90 with the bed. And when I put this on here, it's like 5.5 degrees from the 90. The same direction as the 0. So that tells me the bed and this is pretty well square. So the bed and this is right, so this is in the right position of the bed. Because I thought about shimming the front and getting all that, but I'd rather have it square. But then I run into this gap. And if you push down at the top, you mess up with this up here. It doesn't come flat anymore with the piece. So, and if you kind of bend it down, it doesn't, you're just bending the plate out of the whack. So my next thing is, I have to figure out what in the world to do, because I don't really want to put that big of a spacer down here. I'd like it to be flush. I need the plate up there flush. So my options are maybe is cutting this beam from the top and leaving the bottom, bending it and welding it back, because this needs a push function and I'd like to have it a good strong push, and that would probably fix that problem. Because if you bend that, you're just bending the plate more and less. My weight's not bending it down, but it's actually bending this more than anything. That may not be a bit too bad of a thing, but trying to get that pushed down and in the right spot would be tricky. So I don't know. Let me see what I can do. I ain't got enough weight on me to push it down. Those steps are pretty good, aren't they? I'll just stand on it and see if... I don't understand what happened here. I bet you that bolt wasn't seated all the way down. It popped. I was like, there's no way you broke that. There's no way you broke that.
I gotta touch it though.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, heart attack.
I know that bolt wasn't seated all the way, and it was that thread that caught it. So when you had enough weight to actually squish it down, it went thong.
I am no longer touching you.
Really?
Here. I'm like right there.
Yeah, it is bowing that plate though. But it is right there, isn't it?
All right there.
I may just say heck with it and try to squeeze this into place. So I'm going to loosen these up again. That way it comes back, figure out where those are going, and put bolts in them and let it rip. Hopefully that's just more of this getting tighter and stronger. The problem is I needed to stand like more and less right here if I was going to do it. It's like a drill.
That one's more flexible than the other was.
Yeah. I think it's bent down here more too. I think this thing was already set up well.
Are we going in all the way or?
I don't know yet.
Because I don't know if I could do two directions at the same time.
No. Well, if I do this, you probably won't have to stand on it. I was just going to loosen up the bolts, and it should be the same parts. I'm thinking. And that should be the same points, isn't it?
That one went from here to here.
Yeah. Stand on it. Okay. You can stand on it, and then you grab a bunch of drill bits and drill behind you. You good with that? Got this little 1/2-inch gas pipe, old piece that I've had. And got this kind of homemade little tube bender, a little small one. I need to build me a little hand wheel, kind of like an old-timey steering wheel. So I'm going to bend this pipe and get the biggest loop that I can get out of it. That way I can use it as a handle on that one crank that was, if y'all remember, on that other tow truck, where it lifts up the boom. Building a round one instead of having to reach all the way over. With the taller truck, it don't work. So I'm going to try to bend that with this by slowly bending it. So I'm going to try to see how well that works. I'll get back to y'all whenever I get this done. But basically I'm going to be doing this and just keep moving it across. Alright, so I got a stupid idea. About the size of the wheel I need. Ratchet strap the bottom of that to that. And I'm gonna use big block power to make round circle thingy. Maybe. Hopefully that pipe's gonna bend before it tries to pop a tire, or surely it's not gonna try to raise it up. Yeah. I'll ease on it a little bit and see what happens. I mean, there's a little spot there that didn't like to bend. This is the part that I bent and gave up on. And the flat spot.
That's where you first started.
Yeah. Which I can make that work though. May need to get smaller anyways, so that may be, see how well that kind of works. One of the 32-inch diameter, and that's probably about what this about is. Honestly, that's probably a little bit more, but oh yeah, it's a little bit more, 33. That way I can just take it and go whoop, whoop. A lot easier on you, and you can whip it around faster. So now I think I'm gonna take it to the bender and kind of fine tune it back. Wish I could get that bend back the other way, but it'd be all right. Might have to cut that piece off and work this around, tighten it up, and that work. Show you guys this. Cut this piece off where I bent it, bend this up, tighten the bend up all the way around, and pieces of flat bar and make a center out of it. Yeah. Scratch the concrete a little bit. Oh well. A lot straighter than what I thought it was going to do. I have to keep that noted of doing it next time. But yeah, don't do what I did at home. It's not safe. So I'm saying don't do it. But that's the way I did it. At my own risk. Alright, so I'm gonna finish this up. So we're back on this, on the wrecker boom. Went ahead and welded these up here and these plates. I grounded down the backside and kind of sanded it. I'm only sanding it with a DA with the 40 grit. Basically just kind of scratch up some of the scale and some of this loose paint, getting it knocked off so that we can paint it. But I got these plates welded up on. Trying to remember where we left off. I'm gonna grind down some of these really crappy looking welds. And alright, I got these welded up. There was a pin where it bent down and I couldn't get it bent back up, so I just filled it in with weld. I gotta grind it down because it slides in to this piece right there. This wasn't finished welded. This little cast piece was ate through. I gotta grind it down and kind of clean that up a little bit for the cable to run through. It was almost cutting all the way through. Changing up the pin, it had a pole type pin which had slipped and wasn't very good. So I got this, I'll say it's an inch, kind of old tractor pin that you lift up on. We don't use this anyways, it's too big. Welded a washer to help reinforce this, welded the inside, cut it back out so it's fit through. So this is nice and built up thick. Welded the washer, you can tell where part of the pin had broke and slipped through. So my next step on this part, whenever I get to it, I'm gonna cut the threaded part off where it's flat, and I don't have pieces of metal yet. Put me a piece of metal here that sticks up, one that will stick out here, hole, and that way I can put like a pin. Typically the pin that you put in these, I'll have to find one. And that will lock it in place. Loose enough that where it still wiggle, you can get it out, and all you gotta do is just pull the pin, it pulls out, and the pin keeps it in there. I did think about drilling the holes all the way through, but I think that will weaken this too much. It would be stronger for pin wise, but I think I'd be weakening the beam too much for that. This should be strong enough. I think that one just wasn't all the way in and it bent it. You can see where scrape mark is, where it cut back to the next hole. I think that was a big part of the pin, wasn't secured. And the bad design, the pin had a way to kick back. The pin was way smaller than what that hole was and supported it. But yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of finishing up, cleaning. And just kind of hit it with that 40 grit, sanding it down, just roughing it up. And then I'll try to get everything kind of figured out, hung up and painted somehow. That's going to be the interesting part. I really need these hanging up in the air. I got an idea on a couple of them. But I'll have to figure out the third piece. But yeah, I'm going to be trying to do that. Alright, so I got these pieces sanded, just basically hit it with 40 grit. It's not perfect, just to make it a different color and keep it from rusting. Got that one on the engine hoist, got that one on the engine stand, and got that one on the tractor. I gotta put something over the tractor so I don't paint it too much, and definitely moving the truck. Basically I'll hit it with some, I've been liking this stuff, but it's that Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer 2-in-1 undercoating stuff, kind of a primer type thing. It works. And then I'll, shortly after that, because that stuff tacks up pretty good, I'll hit it with black. By the way, this is not a professional paint job. This is just make a different color. Not going to cry about it later when it gets scratched and beat up, and because it's going to be a work truck. It's going to get used. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're not supposed to stand under hydraulics. So, Dad rebuilt it. It should be fine. I'm going to move my truck, get the paint stuff ready, and hit this real quick and let that stuff dry. Finally found out that comes out. Just kind of fell out. So now I know how to take that off. I'm probably going to paint that orange. It goes on the end of that. Kind of slides in there. But yeah, I'm going to get that all ready. I got the gearbox together. Going to paint it orange whenever I pressure wash it and all that. To get some of that dirt off. But yeah. go ahead and get this done so that way I can be just sitting there hanging drying, because I think it's supposed to rain tomorrow. Yeah, so maybe it'd be dry enough to either put on or do something about it. So yeah. Alright, so I went ahead and put one heavy coat on it, which will be fine. Doesn't look the greatest, but that's a bunch of pits and stuff in it, and I'm not worried about all that. I got those pieces, got the backlights. I'll have to hit those with some spray can, a little bit touchier. It's too windy for right now, and I was just kind of hitting them. That didn't get paint, because that's going to probably get painted differently. And I hit it with spray can. Got the beam here. Turned out pretty good. Probably didn't get the ends, but it'd be fine. Again, it's just mainly to get it one color and make it look nicer. It ain't supposed to be perfect or nothing. It's just different color. Hide the welds and stuff. So yeah, let that stuff hang and dry, and I guess you'll see whenever I start putting this thing back together. Alright, so I didn't film the back brace, but I had them after we get them painting next day, or that night we put that piece on. Right there. Yeah. Put that piece on. Got it bolted 6 bolts into the floor, and then 4 up there. Me and Dad just helped me put this piece on. For now, since I gotta work, I'm gonna put my pin in after I paint it. Put a strap from here to here to hold that down and keep it from bouncing around too bad. I gotta finish the crank piece that goes up here and the pulley pieces. And the gearbox, and that'll be ready. I'm gonna work on getting my light pieces up so that way I can move my license plate from back here to up there. So yeah, that's what I'm probably gonna work on now. Getting that and the wiring set up. So wiring is pretty easy. It's just a plug and play type thing. So yeah, I'm trying to get that done. Alright. So where I was last, we put the wrecker boom on. We got that put on. It was getting dark, so I wasn't able to really film it, but got the wiring hooked up, got the license plate light on. The light. And then the brake light's on. This piece is mounted, the boom. Ooh. So, I'm going to put the gearbox on. Get it put on that hand crank box. And then the little parts and pulleys and stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and try to get that all put on. So I'm about done for tonight. I got the swivel pivot point on. I got the buckle to return it, the top part back on. I'm pointing way off. Found out I forgot to paint the pulley that goes up in there, so I'm waiting for that to dry. And I was trying to put that one in there. Found out it was the wrong one after I put it in. But I got it on. That helped me get the gearbox and the spool and the bracket on. So those are all on. So I'm tired of bugs hitting me, and yeah. Like, I got the reverse lights in today, so I'm going to put them on probably tomorrow and get those wired in. I say reverse lights, they're also going to be work lights. Yeah. Maybe I can use it this weekend a little bit. But I'm going to call it night. I'm going to see if I can get the shop cleaned out and put this thing back in there. But yeah. See y'all tomorrow. Alright. So it's next day in the morning. Go ahead and get this thing pulled out again since it hasn't started raining yet. So what I'm going to do today is I need to put these little rings. Oh, here's the one for it. Put them on the cable like this. And put the cable clamps on. Do the same for the hook. I got one for the hook because it did not have one. And I will probably end up cutting the cable to be on the safe side because it was bound up. And just be on the safe side. I'll probably just nick all that off. I got to put that pulley on today. And I'll have to re-spool that because that's going to be going backwards now. But the whole gearbox goes backwards. White wire hanging down there is for the bed lights. And these are the bed lights. I got these from Speedway. Just kind of wanted a classic look. I was going to use these, which I clear coated the inside just to protect it from rust and clean them up. Those are a 4 or 5 inch, but they use a special spotlight bulb, and I cannot find one of them easily. I've tried the headlights, and they do not fit in the rings, and they don't get held by it. So instead of trying to find a special bulb, these are pretty pitted too, but they're in pretty good shape. But by the time I would have gotten the bulbs, these would have been not much more expensive. So these are the stainless steel. So that's polished stainless steel. These are 7 inch. So standard headlight bulb. Same bulb, I'm pretty sure it's in the truck. I did get the halogen ones. Yeah, pretty good. These will have a ground and then a high and low. I'm going to tie the high and low so both of them come on. Which I guess would just be the high. The high beam. It's just a regular headlight bucket. Yeah. I'm going to install them sometime today and get them on. Be probably after I get the cabling and set up on it. And then I'm going to start working on some of it's over here. The PTO. So that's kind of a clutch off an old John Deere Sycamore. Number 5. It's kind of like a slip clutch. Hits to a certain tension and it will slip. So in case, kind of a safety thing I want to try on it. If it don't work, it don't work. But in case I get the truck or the cable under too much of a bind and I can't pop it out of gear, that will engage and just sit there and clack. So it'll slip. But I'll get some more of that whenever I start installing that. But yeah, go ahead and get started. Alright, so I got the lights on. I didn't film it because the sun's getting very, very hot. And the camera was not going to work very well. But I got them hooked up. I'm going to turn them on and see how well they work. Probably won't work very good in the day, but give us an idea. I don't have to start it. I don't know. Can I turn these on? I can't. I even got to turn the key on. And yeah, they're working. Oh yeah, from an angle, it just looked like a little pin light. I guess when you get at an angle on them, one looks dim, one looks brighter. Okay. Just at the angle I'm at. Cool. I'll see how well they work at night. Hopefully they work pretty good. Be a lot better. If not, I'll have to get some brighter lights of some kind. Now, when that's wired up to the truck, it goes down and goes up to a relay, so the switch ain't under load. But yeah. Next thing we'll be doing the PTO, but we're going to go grab something to eat and do all that. So I got the truck sitting in here. Here's the PTO stuff. This is the shaft that runs from the PTO, from the transmission. I had to build it up a little bit to fit in this. This is kind of a slip clutch off of it's a John Deere number 5 Sycamore. We had a couple spares. Basically what this is designed, so it's spring loaded. You can adjust it, tighten and loosen it, but there's not a solid connection. Your slippage happens here, so it has to override that heavy spring, and this will turn, and this will stop. It saves the Sycamore, and it's behind the gearbox, or no, it's in front of a gearbox. Runs 540 RPM, basically, the same as what the tractors are. And that runs into this piece, which is a 540 PTO, which would be on tractor, to a 1 1/4 shaft, key shaft. Goes to this, which this is the original part to the bed. Had to get a little bit longer chain. This pulley, or this gear, goes up on the gearbox, and then I also have a bolt that runs through here. I have the 2 bearings underneath there. Just kind of explaining this a little bit when I'm under there. And then I'll have another one for the back to run a hydraulic pump, which we'll eventually be getting into for the wheel lift. But I need to get this done to use the winch. And then I got to put my shaft that runs from here to my lever that goes up underneath. I still have to rig that up somehow. I got a rough idea, but I'll figure it out. And then this boom part will be ready to go on operating. So I could hook up the old sling and use it, maybe. But yeah, I'm going to get started on this. Just want to explain a little bit of that. You'll see how it gets put together when I'm under there. Alright, so I got the bar that drives the gear to put it in forward and reverse. Goes down there and it's a red bar, and it connects to back here. So now you can see that this moves. I got the PTO and everything in, and I just put oil in the gearbox, And I got the line spread out to a plate so that way I can spool this thing back in and it gets spooled the correct way, because it was the other way. On the other truck, the gearbox was flipped. But yeah. I'll show you guys that bar. You can see that bar goes across long ways. That's it. There's just tight area. I had to put like a little muffler clamp. Same setup, just opposite side of the bed. I just ended up having to weld that because with the had a pivot on it and it made it go the opposite way. But yeah. Go ahead and start the truck up. I gotta hook the battery up. Then we'll start the truck up. And we can get this thing working again. Alright. Get it out and down. Go ahead and put the parking brake on. And there's the clutch. Yeah, it's already engaged. There it goes. Alright. To kind of give you an idea of what's going on. Got a spring tensioner down there. There it's going. Alright. So, you guys might be able to see that plate moving right there. So you guys can watch while it's getting pulled the plate up and while the winch is working. And I can tow it on this side too. Got a nice slow speed idle. I know during mock-up, if I revved it up any, it started getting out of balance, but it's heavy and fast iron PTL. But you really don't want these things going fast. You want that nice, slow pull. Gearbox probably needs a little bit more oil. I'm going to lube up that chain. And there's my first problem. Dog came off. Huh. Well, that hasn't happened during practice. See if I can get you guys in there. Maybe you guys can see, but that idler came loose. So, I think I'm going to call it. I think that's going to be the end of the video. But yeah. That's the old W400. Or the new old W400. That's my new tow truck. I gotta do some more to it. I gotta put the wheel lift that's sitting right over there on it. It's basically all drilled. I just gotta finish welding and getting hoses for it. Have everything else pretty well mocked up and ready to go. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.